Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is Jill Florent from the Amazon QuickSight team. Today is our second in the new fall learning series, and I'm joined here today by Ashok Dasaneni, who is going to be our primary speaker. What you're going to be focused on for the next short while, I know we advertise this as probably up to 2 hours. It might be closer to 90 minutes, but we're super excited to dive deep on the topics of QuickSight datasets and security. And what we're going to be doing is really a hands-on exercise. We're going to share with you some content in the chat window in just a few moments. I will share with you a link that is shown here. Ashok will take us through a series of interactive activities that will help you really deeply understand things that support, connecting to data sources, applying security, row level security, column level security. I did want to flag that this requires a QuickSight Enterprise author account, and we will be leveraging a data file that we'll be sharing with you. Ideally, you'll have some experience with QuickSight previously or have attended our intro to QuickSight workshop, similar to what we did this morning. I also wanted to flag that one of the things that is really beneficial about joining us live in a session like this is that we're going to try and answer as many of your questions as possible. And so those questions you can put into the question area within GoToWebinar. We will respond to you in that question area here, but these questions and answers will not be saved nor shared after the webinar. So if you wanted to cut and paste those into your own notes file, that would be fine. But I did just want to flag that if you actually wanted to post questions to the QuickSight community, there's a link here and within your QuickSight account. That's a good place to view after the session. This is available for most of our North America regions, and we're going to be enhancing it later this fall. So keep an eye toward the QuickSight community as a place where you can get questions answered after today's session. I also wanted to flag that we will be recording the session today so that you can go back through it again if you wanted to replay it or have a copy to share with colleagues. What we'll do is send this to the QuickSight YouTube channel probably by the end of this week. So just wanted to make that note. And again, we're going to share a file with you. We will be very happy to take your feedback after today to make sure that we're continuing to enhance the way that we're offering content like this. And so without further ado, let me see if I can get things transferred over to Ashok to take us through our advanced topics on QuickSight, datasets, and security. So great. Ashok, we see your screen and I can hear you. So take it away.
Thank you, Jill. Yeah, thank you. Hello all. Welcome to QuickSight Fall Learning Series. I'm Ashok Dasaneni, QuickSight Specialist Solution Architect with AWS. And as part of the workshop today, we will be looking into how to create and manage datasets in QuickSight. And for the second half, we'll be looking into the data security. And here is the page which Jill has shared. Let me put this one more time on the chat. Okay, it's already there. Okay, so a couple of items like this is only we going to cover the data sets and data security modules. We need 2 data sets for this workshop. So the first one, let me walk you through where to download. So from this page on the very first module, initial setup, go to build your first dashboard and exercises. Here, let me put this link again on the chat. Okay, please download this SAS CSV file to the local. This is one of the data sets that we'll be using in the workshop today. Okay, I already have this version. Okay, this is first data set, and for the second version, we will do it along with the steps here under the data sets and exercises. So these are the topics that will be covered as part of the data sets first. Okay, let's go ahead and start uploading the data sets to the QuickSight. So here is my QuickSight page on the screen, and on the left, we have the data sets here. Okay, so from this, click on New Data Sets on the right, on the top right. Okay, so QuickSight provides variety of data connectors like native integration with RDS, Redshift, Aurora, or Athena. And also you can connect to the on-prem databases like Oracle, MySQL, or SQL Server databases. And for the demo today, we will be using the flat file that is can be uploaded through this option first, which is flat files like CSV, TSV, or XLS file. And also we have a S3 connector that will be the secondary data source that we'll be using for the workshop. So let's go ahead and upload the flat file that is downloaded. Click on upload, and from your local, upload the file, the SaaS sales CSV. Okay, we have the first data set ready. You can click on next, and here it is imported to Spice mode. So basically the QuickSight works in two modes. One is a direct query for the real time and the Spice mode, whereas the direct mode, the queries are executed every time, which is when connected to the databases, not flat file, when we load the dashboards and analysis at the real time. And the other mode is SPICE, which stands for Super Fast Parallel In-Memory Calculation Engine. This is a purpose-built columnar storage which can scale and deliver super fast performance to hundreds and thousands of users, like without burdening the underlying data source. So currently, any flat file uploaded in this option is loaded into SPICE. Click on Edit or Preview Data. So we have that all that CSV file dataset loaded in here. And you can see the dataset name is same as the file name that we uploaded. Click on Save. Just click on Save now because we will not going to use it on the visualization at this time. Okay. With that, we added the first data source. From here, let's continue with the exercise as per given in the workshop. So first, we're going to bring in the secondary data source from S3. So let me once again show you that. So here on under the dataset exercises, you can see the data source URL, which is from S3. Let me put this on chat again. This is going to be our secondary data source. Let me walk you through steps how we can connect the S3. So from datasets section here on the QuickSight page, click on New Datasets and select S3. Here, let's name it as fiscal calendar. And the manifest file for this data source from S3 is going to be the URL that I've put on chat and available on the workshop too. Here, S3. And once you have the data source name and the file link, click on connect. Okay, so it's going to be important to Spice again. And let's do edit or preview data. Great. So we have our secondary data set required for this module with all the data sets loaded. Okay. So once we have that, click on save on the top right. Okay. Now, once you complete the step, you should see two data sources. The first is CSV file, SaaS sales, and the second one is from S3, which is fiscal calendar year. Okay. This is how we can make dataset set up a dataset in the QuickSight. Okay. Now, just let's keep this original copy of SaaS sales here and let's create a duplicate and let's work on that one. This is to walk you through like how we can take a duplicate of a data set and can perform the joins with the other data sources. So for that, come to the datasets page here and click on SaaS sales. Under this, click edit dataset, or sorry, click on duplicate dataset. Okay, and let's add a name. Just duplicate to have a different naming. SaaS sales duplicate, and click on duplicate. Okay, it takes a few seconds. If not, refresh the page so that you can see the duplicate copy of dataset that's been created. Okay, now we have our SaaS sales duplicate dataset ready. Let's open this. So to open the dataset, click on the dataset name and click on the edit dataset. So now in this step, let's see how we can perform the cross join with the different data sources. Whereas in this scenario, we will be using S3 as our secondary data source. So before making a cross join, please make sure to disable, change the data type for any geospatial data. So currently in this data set on SaaS sales CSV, we have country, city name, and the region or geospatial data. You can see the different icon here. Let's convert all this into the string field. So for that, click on the three dots next to the country, go to change data type and make it string. Let me repeat the same steps for the other two geospatial data like city and region. Click on the three dots, change data type and make it string. And same for the region too. Change data type and make it a string. Okay. So now we have the same data set ready for the cross join. Now let's import the other data source into this. To add a new data source, on the top right of this edit mode, click on add data. From here, it gives us option to add a data set or a data source or can upload a file. Since we already have the S3 dataset created, let's click on the dataset option. And here we see the fiscal calendar from S3, which is loaded into the Spice. Let me quickly repeat this step. Click on add data, dataset, and the fiscal calendar. Click on select. Once we bring in the dataset, it's just dataset added, but the actual join conditions are not established yet. So you see this the two red dots, which means the relation is not created, the type of join condition that we need to put in for the use case. So click on these dots here, and it pops up the join clause condition space where we can define the relation between these two data sources. So from the first data set, which is SaaS sales CSV, I'm going to take the date key as a key for the join condition, and same from the fiscal calendar, which has the date key as a unique ID. Click on that. And now we're going to keep it as left join. And once this join clause is defined, click on apply. Great. Now we can see both the data sources are joined, where date key being the common field, it is also highlighted with the data source name added to it from because we have the common fields between these two. So the date key is highlighted from which data source it's coming from, and there is another data key. And some of the fields are by default moved into exclude. Let's bring it back to this list. So to bring it all these fields back, click on this dots from the exclude section here, and let's put it back to the actual sheet. So include the field, include. Okay. So now we have all the data sets, all the fields from both the data sets are available. So this is how we can create the cross join. Okay. So now we have all the data sets loaded from all the fields loaded from both the data sets. This is how we can create the cross join. And just to repeat the steps one more time, let me show you how we can create a Snowflake kind of join when you want more additional tables to be added to this data source. So just for this is an optional step. So we can let me show you how we can do that. Add data. Just for the demo purpose, I'm going to use the same data set again, which is fiscal calendar from S3. Click on select. So again, by default, it is pointing to the primary data set, which is SaaS sales CSV. So if you want to change the join to a different table, click the data set, hold and drag and drop to which the additional secondary data source that you want to join this to. So you can see that's highlighted in green. And from here, we can start creating the join condition, the same as the way we created for the primary and the secondary data sets. Okay. So we have this a join definition and click on apply. This way you can add multiple data sources to the data set. Okay. So this is for the demo purpose. And now I'm going to just remove the secondary data set. It's not required. So we're going to continue our this module with these two data sets. Okay. Now from the data sets, it's not only adding multiple data sources, we can also perform other operations like excluding the fields or the filters. Let's see how we can do that. Let's take a scenario where if you want to exclude some of the rows which are not relevant for the use case or the analysis, we can apply the filter within the data set. So for that, on the left side of the menu, the third section is filters. Click on that. And here we can define the filter conditions. So let's click on add filter. Okay. And I'm going to use industry as my filter condition. And in this, click on once we select the field, click on the three dots and go to edit. Here we can define whether what are rows that need to be included or excluded. So keeping it as a custom filter list, so for the multiple values, I'm going to exclude from this. Let's take if the dataset contains a value of the industry miscellaneous, we can exclude that by just typing in the word. So now the QuickSight dataset looks for any row that has miscellaneous in the industry that gets excluded from the dataset. So once we define this condition, click on apply and close it. So here now you can see the filter, one filter is applied to the data set. This is how we can do the data set control from the row level. And as a next step, let's see how exclude the entire column. Let's assume a scenario where you don't need some of the columns from the data set, which is not relevant to the use case or not going to be used as part of the analysis. You can exclude them from within the data set so that only the field that is needed for the analysis will be visible from the analysis page. So for that, let's click on exclude fields here. Sorry, from the field list, let's pick the fields that is not required. So I'm going to exclude the date key. So to exclude multiple columns, use control or command and click on the fields that to be excluded. So in this scenario, I'm going to exclude the date keys from both the data sets and the date too from the fiscal calendar. So I'm going to exclude date key from SaaS sales, date key from fiscal calendar, and the date field from the fiscal calendar. Once we make this three selection, click on the dots and click on exclude fields. Now you can see all the fields that has been excluded under are moved to this particular excluded field section. Okay. Just let me repeat this step one more time on a different field. So if you don't want any of the fields to be part of the analysis, you can do that by clicking this three dots. In this time, I'm going to take a day of the week as a field to be excluded. On three dots, you can click on exclude field and it will move. And if you prefer to bring it back, you can do that by going to the exclude field section and pick the field, and you can put it back into the field list by using the option include to field. Okay. So now we have seen how we can include or exclude the columns or how to filter the data. Now let's move on to the next topic of how we can perform or build the calculated fields within the data set. So in a scenarios where you would like to have a standard calculation that you want to make it available for all your BI authors, that can be included within the data set itself. So let's see how we can create the calculated field. On the datasets page, and just before moving on to the calculation, make sure to click the save on the top right so that any changes that we made so far are saved. Okay. So from the dataset section, you should see this SAS sales duplicate. Click on that and edit dataset to continue with adding the calculated field to this dataset. Okay. So once we on this datasets page on the top left, you see the option to add calculated field. Click on that. So in this scenario, let's say if I want to have cost as one of my field that to be used across a different analysis to be created on this data set, for that I'm going to build a calculation here. I'm going to name it as cost. And I'm just using a simple calculation of sales, which is indicates the field which is from the data set, minus the profit, which is again from the field, the data set. Okay, this is going to be my calculation. I'm labeled it as cost, and the formula is sales minus profit as my calculation. Once we enter that, click on save. And scroll all the way to the right. From here, you should see a new column or added to the data set, which is cost, which is nothing but a calculated field. Okay, so now we have our entire data set with different steps like excluding, filter, and adding a calculated field is ready. Let's save it. Okay, so with that, our first data set with a cross join from the different data sources are ready. Okay, now let's move on to the next topic of how we can create a child data set and how to use it in the analysis. So let me go back to the datasets page, click on the QuickSight on the top and go to the datasets. So the purpose of child dataset is like when we create a child dataset from existing dataset, it retains all the join and calculations from the parent. And on top of that, you can further do additional data preparations like joining a new data or filtering the data. And also you can set up a separate refresh schedule for child dataset and track the dashboards and analysis that are using the child dataset. Okay, let me show you how we can create the child dataset. From this SAS sales duplicate, click on that and you see option use in a new dataset. Click on that. So once you do that, it merges both the data sources that we had. So in the original duplicate dataset, we had CSV and S3. Now it is all merged into one single source. And in this page, let's rename the dataset to SAS sales child. Okay. And from this page, we can also bring back the geospatial data. So for that, I'm going to put the country back into geospatial data type of by using this option. Go to the country on the three dots, click on change data type and make it country, and same for the city too. Click on the three dots, go to change data type and make it city. Okay. Once the step is completed, so here we have created a child data set and renamed it to SAS sales child. And we have converted the string type of country and city back into geospatial data of country and city. Once you have all the steps completed, make sure to click on save to have the changes applied. If the newly created dataset is not available on your dataset section, just click on the refresh. Okay, now we have the SaaS sales child dataset is ready. Okay, so now let's move on to the next topic of this module, which is organizing the fields from the dataset, like how we can create the folders and create a hierarchical structure using the geospatial data. Let's open the SaaS sales child dataset and click on edit dataset. Okay, so if your dataset has a large number of fields, you can keep the fields in the dataset more organized by using this folder option. And also you can create one nested level of folders as well. For example, if you have multiple dimensions, you can create a folder called dim and put all the dimensions into it. Or let's say there is a lot of date fields involved in your data set, you can create a folder and keep it organized like all the date fields in one place. Let me walk you through steps like how we can create the folders first. On the left, from the field list, let's pick all the date fields, like starting with order date. So use your control or command and do a click on the field that we want to be part of the folder. And I'm going to use day of the week, fiscal year, fiscal quarter, all this to be part of my folder. Once you do all the selection, just go to any field that is highlighted and click the three dots and select the option add to folder. Okay, so it gives two options. One is to create a new folder. If any folder already existing as part of this data set, then you can add to the existing folder too. So let's create a new folder with the name date and click apply. So here you see like a new folder is created with all the dates field in it. Okay. Once you complete the step, let's click on save. And let's open the dataset again from the datasets page, SaaS sales child, and click on edit dataset. Okay. So we have the folder created. Now let's look into how we can create an hierarchy of geospatial data. So for that, from the field list, click on this country and you see option add to a hierarchy. Click on that. So we're going to create a new geospatial hierarchy. Click on add and select the option. This hierarchy is for multiple countries. And from the drop down list, select the country and you can name it country hyphen city, because we're going to add the city to this same hierarchical structure, and click on create hierarchy. You see now country city hierarchy is created for this geospatial. Now let's add city to this hierarchical data. So from the city on the field list, click on the three dots and again click on add to a hierarchy. And this time, since we already created the hierarchy, we're going to add it to the existing hierarchy, geospatial hierarchy, which is country and city. And click on add. Okay. So now here you can see the country and city added to the geospatial data, and we have all the date fields into the date folder. And it contains only the fields that are being part of the list. You see like there is no filter condition or exclude available as in the parent. So final output of the dataset that required for analysis is ready now. Okay. Once you make all the changes, click on save. Okay. So with that, we completed all the steps required for creating the data sets. So for Before moving on to the next topic of data security, I would like to add a couple more steps here. So to test the data security, we need to have an analysis to walk you through steps, how we can apply the row level and the column level security, and how it can be applied on the analysis or the data set. So these steps are not part of in the dataset section. So please follow the steps with me in the what I'm presenting here. So for this, we're going to create an analysis for using the SAS sales child. Click on that. And here you have option to create an analysis. Click on that. And it takes us to the page, new analysis. Okay. As you can see, the analysis has the same name based by the data set that we added. Okay, we can rename it as SAS sales analysis. Here I'm going to keep it very simple for the demoing the row level and the column level security. And also, as you can notice, all the data structures like the folder creation or the hierarchy, all that, and the cost calculated field that we create on the data sets are added to this field. Okay, so from this, we're going to create two visuals. One is first is going to be a donut chart. Keeping this visual highlighted, click on the donut chart from the visual types on the bottom left. Okay. And for the groups, I'm going to use the segments from the field list, or you can perform search here directly and add it. And for the value part, I'm going to add sales as my measure. Okay. So we have first visual ready. This is going to be one of our fields that we're going to use for the row level security or the column level security test. Now let's add one more visual to this dashboard. For that, click on the add icon on the top left and add visual. And for this one, we're going to use a pivot table where we will be using the region as one of our row level security conditions. So having this visual highlighted, select pivot table from the visual types. Okay. And this pivot table has one row, column, and the value parts. So for the row, I'm going to use the region and the subregion. Let me bring the region first. Okay. You can see it is added with the regions Americas, APJ, and EMEA with the count of records. Let's add one more dimension to this rows, which is subregion. Okay. And for the column part, we're going to use the order date, which is part of this folder from the date. So from here, select order date and put it into the columns. Okay. So currently, based on the granularity of data, it is grouped by the day level. So now let's change the aggregation to the year. So for that, from the order date on the column cell, click that and change the aggregate to day from year. Let me repeat that step one more time. So we added the order date from the date folder to the columns, and from the drop down, we changed the aggregation from day to the year. Okay. And for the measure part, once again, I'm going to use the sales from the field list. So from the field list, select sales and drag and drop it to the value part. Here now we see like all the sales volume is added to the table. Okay. Once we have this visual ready, let's publish this as a dashboard, and then let's continue with the second module of this session, which is data security. So from here, let's publish the dashboard. On the top right, we have option called share. Click on that, and you see publish dashboard. Let's click that. And here is the publish options. And in this, I'm going to name it as sales overview dashboard. Oh, Sorry about that. So from here, we're going to publish the dashboard. Okay, here are some of the sharing options. So currently we don't have the user. Next step is we're going to create another test user where we're going to use it for the row level and the column level security. So first we have our dashboard ready for the data security. And now as a next step, let's create one test user that going to be used for the row level security. And to do that, so once we are from the data dashboard page, on the top right, you see this admin page, click on that and go to manage QuickSight. From the manage QuickSight page, here, the very first option is to manage the users. Here we're going to add a user by option invite users, click on that. And I'm going to name it as test reader and hit enter. So it is added to the user list. And here I'm going to give my email ID. I'm going to keep it as the same reader and not an IAM user. So this reader will be used as a secondary user for testing the row level or column level security. From this page, click on invite. Let me quickly repeat the step one more time. From the admin page on the top right, go to manage QuickSight. From the manage users, using the invite users option, we have added test reader and we made it reader role for this user. It takes a couple of minutes to receive an email to complete the setup of this user. So the meantime, let's move on to the next topic and start building the file that is needed for the row level security. Okay, so let me bring this page here. So on this author workshop, go to data security section here. Okay, so here in QuickSight, it supports both row level and the column level security. With row level security, you can share the same dashboard to multiple users, and also you can specify the level of access that user or group levels need to have. And row level security can be defined with a flat file or from any supported data sources too. And the row level security that is defined at the dataset level, once it's applied, any analysis or the dashboard that built on top of the data or the dataset will have same level of security access. Okay. From this, let's go to this exercise. Let me put this on the chat. We're going to use this file for defining the row level security. So here is the file to download. Let's click on and download this to local, download sample RLS rule. Okay. And to define a row level security, we need to use the ARN information, which is Amazon resource name. And you have that format here. I'll walk you through the steps, how to construct an ARN information to define the row level security. Okay, now let's open the file that is downloaded to the local. Just give me a minute. Here is the format of the file that we're going to define the row level security. And in this, you can see like it has four parts. One is user level ARN, one is group level ARN, and the region and segments are the part of the SaaS sales dataset that we created. Let me show you that one more time. So let's go to the QuickSight datasets page and SaaS sales child. Click on edit dataset. And here you can see the region information and the segment. These are the two columns that we're going to use to define the row level security. Okay. So from the Excel that is downloaded for the RowLevel Security. Let's enable the editing, and from the workshop page, copy that user ARN format, which is starting with ARN followed by the QuickSight, this entire string. Let's copy and put it to the sheet here, user ARN information. So here in this URL information, it requires the region where the QuickSight is, and the account number of this QuickSight, and the namespace and the username. Let me take a copy of this and walk you through the steps, like what all changes that we're going to do to construct this ARN information. First, let's get the identity region. So from the QuickSights page, you have two options to identify the region. One is by clicking this admin link here on the top. You can see the regions here, US East, North Virginia, or from the URL, the very first part of the URL string is the region, which is US East 1 in my case. Let's copy that and replace the string here, the identity region, with the region information, which is US East 1. That's our first step. And next, the account number. And for the account number, let's go back to the QuickSight page. From the top right, the username information. Click on the very first section highlighted, which is username and the account name. Click on that. And here you can see the account info. Let me repeat this step one more time. So from the username, click on the first section. And here we can see the username, email address, account name, and the account ID, which is the account number. Copy the account number and go back to the sheet and replace this part of the string, which is account number, with the account ID copied. And we are defining at the user level, it's going to be the same. And for the namespace, so we're going to make it default, which is the default namespace for the QuickSight. Just give me a minute. Okay. And for the username, let's pick it from the QuickSight again. So from the same account info here on the top right, we're going to use the username, which is, in my case, this is being the demo account. It's called team role / master key. Copy that. And let's replace the last part of the ARN, which is username. So here is my ARN information. So this is how the format looks like from the workshop, and we replaced it with the ARN AWS QuickSight, and my identity region is US East 1, and the account number followed by user, and the default as my namespace followed by the username. Okay. So once we have this, let's copy and paste same to other two rows. So now I have my very first RowLevel security setup ready with ARN information, and on the right we have these two columns, the region and segment. Let me walk you through like how it is connected. So for this particular user, we are restricting access to the Americas region and strategic and enterprise. So to define the rule, either you can do the comma separated value as shown in the segment with strategic comma enterprise, or you can also do it like a region and followed by the separate rows for strategic and enterprise. Both works the same way. Okay, make sure to save this file. And before applying this row level security to the data set, let's complete the setup of the other user as well, the test reader that we created on the admin page. This one from this manage QuickSight, manage users. I'm talking about this one, the test reader. I have received an email with a new user setup. I'm going to complete that activation. So for that, since we already have one session active on this Chrome browser, I'm going to use the Firefox as a separate browser to avoid any conflict between the two active sessions. Okay, here is my Firefox browser, and I copied the link from the invite that I received. Let me show you this quick. So here is the email that I received for the test reader that I created. And we are on the step to complete the user setup. So with that URL, so here you can see the QS demo account, which is nothing but from the admin page. Here, this is my account name and my email address and the test reader as my username. And the password is, I'm going to put it as test pass -1, create account sign in and continue. Okay, so now completed the user setup. I'm going to log in with the credentials that I created. My username is going to be the test reader and my password. Sign in. Great. Now we have a new user setup with a reader permission, and here is the page. And to confirm, here is the user information that I created, the test reader. Okay. So before applying any row level security, let's just share the dashboard and see how it looks like before the row or column level security is applied, and then followed by that we can apply the row level security and test it. So let's go to the main page by clicking on the QuickSight icon on the top left. From this, go to the dashboard page. And here is our dashboard that we created in the previous steps for the segment and the region information. So from here, I'm going to share this dashboard with the other user that I created, which is test reader. So click on share on the top right and click share dashboard. Okay, from here, let me find the user information. Here is the test reader that I created and viewer access and the role is reader. Click on share. Just let me repeat this step one more time. From the dashboard, share dashboard, and finding the user, adding to the list, and click on the share. Okay. Now here from the manage dashboard permissions page, you can see it is this dashboard has access to the current admin user plus the test reader that we shared now. Let's go and check if the dashboard is available to the other user. Here from the Firefox page, the test reader, refresh the browser. Okay. Here, now we see the dashboard that is created from the admin account is available for the reader too. Okay. Here are my two pages. One is on the Chrome for the admin user, with currently it has access to all the segments plus all the regions, and other user is also having the same. Okay. Now let's continue with the row level security. Go back to the RLS file that we were creating. So currently the role definition is mapped only to the admin user with Americas and strategic and enterprise and EMEA with strategic and enterprise segments. Let's add one more rule for the test reader this time. And let's build the ARN information. So for that, let me repeat the steps again. I'm going to put the ARN format from the workshop and redo the steps. So for the identity region, from my Firefox browser, it's again going to be the same US East one. Followed by account number, it is same. Just for the reference, let me show you this again. Here is the account ID. And it's going to be the same user. and default as my namespace. And finally, for the username part, we're going to take the test reader is the username. Copy that and replace the last part of the ARN string, the username with the test reader. Okay. So now we have a rule defined with the ARN information for the admin user and the reader too. Let's restrict this user, the test reader, with only the APJ. So here the test reader currently has access to all the regions. We're going to restrict it to only to the APJ region plus only to the SMB, the small business segment of data. So here I'm defining the APJ as the region for the test reader and followed by the segment is going to be the SMB. So make sure we have the same column names and the values in the data sets as well. So once we complete this step of defining the ARN with the region and segment, save it. Let's close the file and go back to the Chrome browser where I have the admin page. Click on the QuickSight and the row level security that we're going to define it from the datasets page. Click on the datasets and to tie that row level security file to the SaaS sales, it has to be, we have to create the dataset first. So we're going to do the same steps like we did during the start of the session, which is SaaS sales or the fiscal calendar. So for this, let's click on the new dataset and upload the file. And this time I'm going to bring in the SaaS sales RLS row level security file that we created now. Open that. And the sheet one is where we have that information of row level security rules. Select that. Go to the next page. Click on edit or preview. And here we can see all the rules that we defined for the user information. Let's confirm that. So we have ARN information for this user, the admin user, and also we have one ARN defined for the test reader, followed by the Americas and strategic enterprise, EMEA and strategic and enterprise. And finally, for the test reader, we have assigned the SMB. Once you confirm this information, click on save. Here now we should see all the data set. Let's refresh the page one more time. Okay, so now we should see both SaaS sales RLLs and the other data sets that we created. Now let's add that row level security to the actual data set that we're using, which is SaaS sales child. Click on that. Once you click on that, this time, let's see, you will notice that these two buttons, one is row level security and the column level security. The first we're going to do the row level security using the file that we created. So click on row level security. And from the list of datasets available, select the SaaS sales RLS, the file that we uploaded with the ARN and the rules information, and grant access to the dataset and click on apply dataset. It asks for the confirmation and click on the apply dataset one more time. Okay. Now the configuration low level security step is completed. Close this part and close this dataset edit menu option. Once we tie the row level security file to the actual underlying dataset, you should see the small log icon, which is indicating this dataset has a row level security applied. Okay. Now let's test how it's restricting the data on the dashboards. This is being a very important step. Let me repeat it one more time. From SaaS sales child, I have created the row level security using this row level security and I've selected the RLS and I clicked on apply dataset and one more time apply dataset to confirm. That's how I tied the RLS file to the actual underlying dataset. Okay, now let's validate on the dashboards. Go to the dashboards here and let me open the row level security file for reference too. Just give me a minute, please. Okay, this is just for reference. So now once we open this dashboard, we should see only the Americas and Strategic Enterprise, or EMEA with Strategic and Enterprise. Let's open the dashboard. Great. You see now this user, the admin user that has access, we defined only at the Americas and EMA with Strategic and Enterprise. So now the row-level security is applied. So this user has visibility only on this segments, the Enterprise and Strategic with Americas and EMEA. Now let's validate the other user too. I am opening my Firefox browser and refreshing the page here. So the rule for the test reader is to have only the APJ and SMB segments to be visible. Wonderful. Now we can see this user has only access to the SMB regions or SMB segment with APJ region. This is how we can define the row level security for the different users and restrict the access. Okay. And now followed by that, now we have seen the row level security, how we can define the rules and how we can add it to the data set and restrict the access. Now let's move on to the last topic of the session, which is the column level security. So this is something here, the column level security exercise 8 under the data security section. So column level security best fits for the scenarios where you might have to hide the entire column of sensitive information like social security numbers or any other personally identifiable information data. So using the column level security option, you can restrict the complete column of data. Let me walk you through the steps how we can achieve that in QuickSight. Let's go back to the main admin page. From here, the QuickSight, go to the datasets section. On this page, let's open the SaaS sales child. And here, this time, we're going to define the column level security. Click on that. Let me repeat the step one more time. From the datasets, SaaS sales child, click on column level security. So once we go there, we can see all the fields. All the fields are part of this data set. So here in this case, I'm going to use a segment as the field where I would like to apply the column level security. So select the segment. Currently, you see it's accessible. Every single column on the field is accessible to all the users. So now I'm going to change only the segment part. So by check the segment and click on next. And here I'm going to add only the steamroll master key, the primary user. So I have two users. So I'm going to grant permission only to the admin user on this column. Click apply. It takes us back to the column level restrict list. So here now we can see the change. All the columns except the segment are accessible to every single user on the account, whereas the segment is mapped only to this primary admin user, the team role / master key, which is a demo account. Once we have this, back to the data set. Just let me confirm this one more time, the changes that is applied. I'm going to open the SaaS sales child, go to the column level security. Yes, we have segment information, the column segment column is granted permissions only to this user. Now let's test this. Click on QuickSight and let's go to the dashboard. So we should not see any change here because this primary user, admin user has access to the segments with row level security of enterprise and strategic only with AMER and EMEA regions. Now let's test the other user. on the Firefox, the test reader. Let me refresh the page. Okay, here you can see you can't access this visual because some of the data is restricted. That's because we blocked the access to the entire column of segment using the column level security on QuickSight. So this user has access only to the APG region, which is based on the row level security. Okay. With that, we came to end of the data security sections too. Jill, you there?
I am. Wanted to say thank you so much. I know that we've been doing our best job to try and answer questions today. Would love to thank everyone for attending. I'm going to just ask you maybe to have a quick look in the chat window. We would love to have you give us some feedback on your experience. And then I'm also going to put a link. We have one more session today. It's been a day of intensive learning about the author experience in QuickSight, and we do have one more advanced topic session coming up. We're going to be doing a session beginning at 3 p.m. today that is focused on, again, author topics, but advanced author topics, including calculations and machine learning insights. So if you can check out those two links that I just put into the chat window, I would love to just, again, thank you, Ashok, for taking us through such an in-depth discussion on data sets and data security. And we're going to take one more quick look at the questions. I think that we've got just about all the questions answered. So thank you to all the attendees. And we will be posting the workshop materials onto our YouTube channel by the end of the week. So with that, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
we'll wrap things up for now.